Today we're going to show you how to plant the perfect dove field. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Pilot Patriot channel. Now, I know most of you that watch this channel are gun guys, but I bet a lot of you are hunters too. And dove hunting is one of the most popular types of hunting. So today we're out in what is going to be my dove field. Now, a lot of you probably been on dove hunts before. Either somebody else put on a dove hunt. There are always a lot of paid hunts around that you can go to and pay whoever's field it is, and they'll let you hunt out there, things like that. And I've always had family that had a dove field every year. I remember when I was 13 years old, went on my first dove hunt with a little Browning over and under 20 gauge that my dad got me. And we've had great hunts over the years, but this year we're just not gonna be able to have that field. So I decided this is the perfect year to plant my own dove field. And I'm gonna show you guys exactly how we're gonna do it. Now, we do deer hunt this field, and usually the farmer that tends this field plants either beans or wheat or something like that out here. Now, it is early May, and when we came out here a couple weeks ago, we had a really nice surprise. This entire field was planted with clover, and I'll roll in a picture of what it looked like. It's just beautiful. For those of you that don't know, clover is a great attractant for deer. So what we decided to do, and you can probably see here behind me, is we're gonna leave about 10 yards of this clover all the way around the field. So to still be feeding deer all year long while also growing us a nice dove plot for the fall. Now, the two most popular things to plant for dove is either wheat or sunflowers. We decided we're gonna do both. We're gonna make a nice dove buffet out here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a circle all the way around the outside that we're just gonna leave bare ground that we're gonna top sow wheat on later in the year, a little closer to dove season, and probably a strip right down the middle that we'll top sow wheat on. Everything else is going to be sunflowers. Sunflowers is one of the best things to attract dove and get a lot of dove coming into your field, but it has to be done right. Now, I've done a lot of research on this, and I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do it. First thing we did was we came in here and we mowed down the section in the middle of this field that we wanted to plant. I went over it twice, make sure it was cut good and low. Then we sprayed Roundup, killed everything. Came back a week or two later, sprayed again. We wanted to get everything good and dead so that we can eliminate having any kind of weeds or anything like that in our sunflower plot. Another thing I recommend for weed control is making sure you get a good herbicide tolerant sunflower. We got Clearfield sunflowers, and there are certain types of herbicides that you can spray directly on those without killing them. So what we're gonna do is we'll plant these sunflowers today, and we'll come back in a couple months and we'll spray down all the weeds that are growing back up in there, and hopefully keep this nice clean ground. Dove love to feed off the ground, and they like a nice clean ground to do it on. So it's very important that you have no grass, no weeds, or at least as few as possible in your sunflower plot so they can get down on the ground, run around, and eat those seeds. The reason that you want to plant early in the year, like I said, this is early May, and it's the perfect time to plant sunflowers for dove, is because it takes about 100 days for sunflowers to mature. And what we want is we want those sunflowers to grow and then die a couple weeks before dove season. Dove season comes in around the 1st of September. And we want those sunflowers to start dropping sunflower seeds, to die, wilt over, and start dropping sunflower seeds on the ground a couple weeks before season starts and through the season, so that there's plenty of seed on the ground for the dove to eat. We're also going to come back in here and just bush hog down large sections of the sunflowers too, so we can knock all that seed to the ground and scatter it around everywhere. But we also will leave some of the sunflowers standing for the dove to come in and land on. Now, today is planting day. It is May 8th, so we're going to come in here today. We're going to till up this ground. We're going to till it up nice and fine so we can get the seed planted. First, I'm going to roll in some footage for you guys of all the prep work we've done. Like I said, we mowed, we sprayed, and we did everything right, hopefully, to grow a nice, good dove field. Now, a lot of you are probably like me. You don't have a lot of equipment to do this with. And you don't have to be a farmer to do this. You don't have to have tons of equipment. I'll tell you what we did. We have about 1.5 acres on this field, and I came out here and sprayed the whole thing with backpack sprayer. Now, that's not the easiest way to do it. I definitely missed a lot of spots, but that's why I came back and got them all the second time. And that worked out just fine. You are going to need some kind of tractor to do this. Now, I borrowed my dad's tractor to do the mowing and things like that. We're going to use that same tractor, tiller that we're borrowing from my uncle to get the ground tilled. But we don't have a planter for the tractor. I'll show you what we are using for that. It's just a manual push behind row seeder. I think it's going to work out just fine for us. And obviously you're going to need your seed, some fertilizer, and some herbicide. And other than that, that's pretty much everything you're going to need. Now I'm going to roll in some footage of the prep work we did. We're going to go ahead and get the tiller out here and get this ground broke up, and then we'll be back in just a minute to show you how to plant this stuff. All right, guys, now here we are about 1.5 weeks later, and you can probably already see behind me at my feet, we already got some sunflowers coming up, so looks like we did a good job. Everything seems to be coming up nice. There's no grass and weeds coming up in it, so we did a pretty good job there. And I'm gonna get you in closer so you can see what it looks like, but before we do that, I just wanna mention a few things to you. So if you noticed in the video that you just saw, we did end up going back with a cultivator to kind of break this ground up a little bit more. We just happened to have really hard ground, a lot of rocks and stuff. So the tiller by itself just wasn't going to do it. So we brought in the cultivator and then came back over top of that with the tiller. So if you do have a really hard ground or ground that's never been broke up before, that is something that you're probably going to have to do. So keep that in mind when you're planning out your planting. The next thing I want to talk about is the way we planted it. Now, like I said before, we didn't have a row planter for the tractor or anything like that. So all we used was this Chapin manual row planter. Now, you can see in the video how it works. I'll roll in some more video of that. But basically, you just put your seed in here in the little channel. And it worked out fine. I do want to warn you though, these things are primarily designed for gardens with really fine, loose soil, so that thing can really just push through it real easy. As you can see in the video, you can see every time I hit a rock or a big clump or something, it would kind of catch up on me and I'd really have to force it through there. We did have some areas of the field that I went through no problem, but of course, if you're in a large field like this, there's going to be some rocks, there's going to be some large dirt clods and stuff like that that you're just going to have to power through, and you're just going to have to deal with that unless you have some kind of tractor implement that you can use. Now let me get you in here real close. I'm going to show you how this thing works real quick, and I will put a link to this in the description below if you want to get one for yourself and use it to plant your dove field. All right, guys, you can see a little bit of our sunflower coming up right here, but let's get a closer look at this thing. All you really need to do is you put your sunflower into this channel here. It does have a fill line, so you don't want to fill it up above that. And it does come with a lot of these discs right here, and this is what's going to pick that seed up. As that wheel turns, it's going to rotate and it's going to pick that seed up, and it's just going to drop it down into this channel right here that drops it down here. And right here where it's cut your trench, it's going to drop the seed in right here, and then it's going to cover it back up with this spring-loaded flap right here that's just going to pull that dirt back in over top of it. This is adjustable, so you can drop it down to whatever depth you need. For our sunflowers, I just set it to an inch, so really an inch, inch and a half, anything in there is probably pretty good. Obviously, it's going to be relative to your soil and how hard you're pressing into the ground and that kind of thing, but it gets you close enough. Also, this back wheel here, this large flat back wheel, will kind of pack down that soil a little bit on top to make sure it's planted well. It does come with several of these discs for different types of seed. It does have one that is designated for sunflower, so that worked out nice. If you don't have a sunflower disc, I have heard that a disc for corn will work just as well. The next thing you'll see is this arm right here. It rotates from side to side, and you can probably see me doing it in the video. But all this does is it marks the spot for your next row. So if you want your rows a certain distance apart, and we wanted ours 30 inches apart. So I put this wheel way out here at 30 inches, locked it down. Now as I pushed this thing and planted this row, it was marking the next row for me. So all I had to do was move over to that spot and keep going. Now when you get down to your end of your row and you want to come back up the other way, you just transfer that thing over to the other side and it'll mark your next row for you. That thing's obviously not necessary. You can eyeball it if you want to, but it's pretty convenient and at least gives you a good starting point. And that's how we did it, guys. It worked out really nice. We got a lot of sunflowers coming up here. One thing I will mention, I did notice that a lot of times it would drop a couple seeds at a time, or maybe it would drop them closer together than I really wanted. I was kind of shooting for 6 to 10 inches apart on the seed, and it didn't really get that. There's some places where there's 6 seeds dropped right next to each other, and there's some places where I got 10 inches. So just be aware of that. And what you can do is go back later once they start to grow up, and the ones that you can see that are kind of stunted, you can come in and just cut those out, and that'll allow those other nicer big ones to grow even bigger because you're taking away that competition. So we'll probably come in here and thin this out later. Of course, also the other thing we need to think about is that we do have deer coming into this field, and once these plants start to get a little taller, the deer will start to eat on them a little bit. So it's probably a good thing that we kind of got a nice thick planting, because the deer are going to naturally thin out some of that for us. And obviously once it gets to a certain height, the deer ain't going to mess with it anymore anyway. So I think we're doing good there. One other thing that did happen to us, a few days after the planting, we had a huge thunderstorm come through. And yes, our field did need rain, but I'll tell y'all what, this storm dropped a gallon of water per foot, I guarantee it. Anyway, we did have a lot of seed that got kind of washed down into different areas, washed down towards the bottom of the field. And that's not a big problem. You can see here that we still got nice rows going every 30 inches. Our rows still look really good. So that's not going to be a problem there. Now while I'm talking here, I am going to roll in a video of a little bit closer view of these rows so you can see how that looks. Overall, guys, we're really happy with the results. It seems to be coming up good. We got a decent sized field here. The whole field here, the part that we cut out, is probably 2.5 acres, something like that. And we planted about 1 acre of sunflower. Like I said before, we have a strip all the way around the outside, about 10 yards wide, that we left not planted, that we're going to topsoil wheat on later. Same thing down the middle, so it worked out nice. We actually ended up with a little bit of seed left over, and we started with 5 pounds. One thing I might not have mentioned earlier is we did go in and we spread 10-10-10 fertilizer over the whole thing. We did 5 bags of 10-10-10 over the whole field before we tilled, and that should really help these plants along. Now I debated on whether or not I was going to save this video till later in the year and show y'all an update once these plants get a little bigger, but I'm going to have to make you wait. So stay tuned. Sometime late summer I'll come back, give you an update video, and then of course we're going to have a hunting video in the fall once these sunflowers are nice and big. We're going to have some heads on them about like that right there. It's going to be beautiful, and we're going to have 1 million doves flying here. I just know it. So stick with us, guys. Like I said, I am going to put a link to some of these things in the description below if you want to check it out. If you like these kind of videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we upload new videos. And I really hope this video has helped you out. If you guys have been wanting to plant your own dove field, just didn't know how to do it, I think this is a good method. I think we're really going to have a successful dove season this year. And make sure you stay tuned for that update video. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.